With the release of update 7.3.5, spike grenades were changed to grant only 12.5% bonus impact damage to grenade launchers, down from the previous 50%. To compensate, regular grenade launcher impact damage was raised by 10% and the detonation damage by another 5%. If you've seen my previous video, you'd know that this has actually resulted in a very minuscule damage nerf across the board. However, the question remains, should you bother with spike grenades now, or is there a better option that as a whole acts as a more optimal choice? Well, dear viewer, today we're going to explore exactly that, going over all of the alternative second column perk options and weighing up the pros and cons of each of them, so strap in and get ready. First off, because this video is about spike grenades and its alternatives, I thought I would first touch on the current state of spike grenades before we move on to the other options. For those who are unaware, grenade launchers are rather unique in that the distribution of their damage is heavily affected by the value of the blast radius stat. The total damage per shot is always the same, but the higher your blast radius, the more damage you get piled into the detonation number versus the impact number, and vice versa. The lower your blast radius, the more damage you get piled into your impact number versus the detonation number. Previously, this was quite a big deal because having your impact damage raised by 50% meant you had to try and minimize the blast radius of your chosen grenade launcher in order to reap the most benefit from spike grenades, which is why you'd sometimes hear people complain that they got a blast radius masterwork, or in the case of the Cataphract JL3, you'd even have people recommend against obtaining the adept version purely because if you fully masterworked it, it would gain a few more points in blast radius. Now, however, since the benefit granted by spike grenades is far lower, for one, you don't have to worry nearly as much about the blast radius stat, and two, the per shot percentage increase is also way lower. Pre-patch, taking this clip here where my perkless Coraxis hits for an impact and detonation damage of 16,235 and 29,350 respectively, we can work out that spike grenades is responsible for around 11.9% of the total damage per shot. Post-patch, the new values for impact and detonation damage are 13,383 and 30,825 respectively, which now only amounts to about 3.4% of the damage coming from spike grenades, a much lesser impact than it had before. Nowadays, having or not having spike grenades is much like having a rocket with or without impact casing. It's not the most optimal damage per shot, but it isn't the end of the world either. For reference, impact casing provides an extra 2.2% damage per shot for rockets. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about the alternatives. Quickly before the video continues, if you like what you see here, consider subscribing as we're trying to reach 30,000 subs before the release of the final shape, and we need your help to get there. Now back to the video. Proximity grenades are the first alternative option, and they act like a pseudo grenades and horseshoes where the grenades explode in very close proximity to the target, and they also lower your blast radius stat by 20 points. Unfortunately, because the grenades explode based on proximity, there is no impact portion of the damage split, which when compared to having spike grenades is actually a 28% damage reduction per shot. So this perk is immediately a no-go, at least for PvE. Next up, we have alloy casing, which increases the reload stat by 30 points, which is quite a nice benefit for any mag dump scenarios since you're spending less time reloading, though with the existence of Envious Assassin grenade launchers, which Regnant gets, or even the fabled Godroll Cataphract, this perk has little use to offer. Augmented Drum is up next, and now we actually have a somewhat useful perk on our hands. This perk increases the magazine size by 2, meaning when paired with Envious Assassin, backup mag, and overflowing to the max, you can get up to 24 shots in the mag, which without Augmented Drum sits at a lower 21 shots. Specifically on some rapid-fire frame grenade launchers, having Augmented Drum actually increases your reserve ammo capacity by 1 more grenade. Unfortunately, when looking at the total damage across the entire reserves, having that 1 extra grenade still won't let you out-damage the spike grenade's roll, although it is nail-bitingly close. Regardless, if you want to enjoy larger magazine sizes at the cost of a small DPS and total damage loss, then this is the perk for you. Moving on, we have High Explosive Ordnance, which actually lowers our magazine size by 1 in favor of +5 velocity and +10 blast radius. And much like proximity grenades, this one is kinda bad. A lower mag size means less optimal Envious Assassin procs, and yeah, you know the rest. Hard pass on this one. High velocity rounds are next, and they simply give you +10 velocity and reload speed. Nothing too fancy, but a nice boost regardless. Again, similar to alloy casing, this is just gonna make your mag dumps a little more efficient, but if it were between this or Augmented Drum, I know what I'd choose. If you like the sound of Augmented Drum, then I'm certain that mini frags will also take your interest. In much the same way as Augmented Drum, mini frags increase your total magazine size by 1, however with backup mag you can still reach the mag cap of 8 just like before. Additionally, mini frags give +10 reload speed for the trade-off of -10 blast radius, but at this point that doesn't really matter, so like before, you can once again reach 24 rounds in the mag with optimal Envious Assassin procs, but this time instead of losing -20 reload speed, you gain 10. Friendship ended with Augmented Drum, now mini frags is my best friend. Finally, the last magazine perk we can take a look at is sticky grenades, and outside of reminding me of the old mountaintop wall climbing method, this perk offers no unique benefits whatsoever, so don't bother. So, overall, I would say that Spike Grenades definitely has some competition now, but still, if you're wanting the maximum DPS and total damage roll, Spike Grenades is still undefeated in that regard. As for an overall ranking, I've placed my picks in this order, so do let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. As mentioned previously, you should really start to think of Spike Grenades to grenade launchers as impact casing is to rockets. It really isn't the end of the world if you don't get it, but having it does still give you the most benefit for your damage. That's all we have time for today, so I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next one. If you made it this far, thank you so much. Your support means the world. And if you're really into the content I create, consider becoming a member of the channel, which not only lets you support me in the best way possible, it also nets you a whole host of awesome perks along with it. A massive shout out to these members up on screen, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now, dear viewer.